just radiate out one more breath of gratitude for the ability to be here in the now, amplifying light, amplifying good, positive vibrations to the world.
Wow.
Namaste.
Namaste. Wow. That is an incredible way to start this very, very special episode. Guys, Lincoln, thank you for that.
Of course,
I feel so great. I feel so great.
It feels good, right?
Literally, I closed my eyes. I was seeing like little flickers of light or like, I don't know. I was like, wow.
It's just a beautiful, thing to do, to anchor and to recenter yourself, to realize like, what we're about, what we're here to be and embody.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Thank you for that. That was absolutely wonderful.
Of course,
and
man.
Such
Thanks
a
for having
proper
me.
dude. Thank you for coming on. Guys, this is such a special episode. I am so excited and so honored to have this man here with me. Guys, welcome back to the 7 on 7 podcast, episode 36 today with the one and only Healing House sensation, just an absolute genuine guy, and I'm so excited to dive into this. Today on the pod, I have Mr. Lincoln Jesser. How are you, brother?
Namaste, my man. I'm great. I'm
Dude.
amazing. So honored and happy to be here with you.
Man.
And this incredible space that you've created.
Thank you.
Man,
I'm
props.
genuinely so honored to have you here. I mean, since kind of to give you guys a little backstory of how we met was I had met Lincoln at Penn Station Studios when I was with Jake Shore doing a studio session, and we had met and connected, had good vibes. I gave him the Kodiak bar.
You saved me from starvation.
Yep, saved him from starvation. And then I think it was like, I truly believe in this, is when we reconnected by total happenstance was Waterfront Festival in San Diego.
Yeah.
I was there filming for one of my buddies, Tyler, who was performing at the same stage that you were at, which I was totally unaware of until I showed up, looked at the lineup. I was like, what? Lincoln's going to be here.
That's what we call synchronicity.
It was totally synchronicity. And then, I'm so glad we got to kind of talk a little bit backstage. And then
it was a great talk.
Now we've manifested this right here. I'm so excited.
I'm excited to be here, man.
So excited. But so for the people who are unfamiliar with you, which is crazy to me on the trajectory that you've been on, but for the people who are unfamiliar, people who are listening and watching the show on YouTube, kind of give a little bit of a description of who you are, what you do, a little bit about you, and then we can like really dive into things.
Yeah, man. So, I'm Lincoln Jesser, and I've been an artist and music producer for, the better part of 16 years at this point. And before that, I was singing in bands, playing guitar music, you could call it, so I've been, writing and singing since I was probably 13. So 20 years, basically.
Wow.
It's pretty much just been my entire life is doing music.
Love
and,
that.
I gradually went from kind of the more indie rock singer-songwriter thing into realizing, you can like make a whole song with your computer, and falling in love with dance music and getting inspired by people like Daft Punk and Justice and Deadmau5 the homie the sensei but
Grandmaster Wizard,
and just always continuing in that, I moved out to LA to continue to do music and study as well music, and I was lucky enough to link with people that were doing great things in the industry, and just got thrown into the deep end. I was touring as a guitarist for a couple of years for my friend Yuna.
Wow.
Yeah, which was incredible. She's an amazing, talented singer-songwriter from Malaysia who's also in America, crossed over in America. And so we were like, playing on late night Jimmy Kimmel and festivals. And I was like this little 19-year-old kid in the back, like with a guitar. Like I was like, what's going on? But it was so beautiful. And, it all informed what I was doing, which was starting to put out my own indie electronic music, and some of that got attention and love from blogs during like the Hype Machine era, if you were tapped in on that. But it was a big thing when I was in like the college age. And so I was doing my thing, and then I moved more into the house music space, and I started releasing some records with like Spin-In Records, which is a big dance label in the Netherlands, and Ministry of Sound I did a couple records with.
Wow.
And, just had some incredible experiences over the years. And in the last few years, I've continued and continued to, make amazing connections and play great shows. But at the same time, I was also getting deeper and deeper into my spiritual practices, mainly meditation and mindfulness. And, I've always been kind of a nerd, like an academic nerd on the other side of my brain. And I never really like fully connected them. And then, as you get older in life, like life experiences happen. You go through ups and downs and challenges, and you realize that, you continually like break down to the cellular level, and you have to build yourself back up and reconnect to purpose and meaning and draw from this energy that's higher than your small self, so to speak. And I kind of got to that point of reckoning, and at that time I was like looking for healing in my own life, and meditation alone actually wasn't fully getting me there. And that's when I kind of discovered like sound healing, specifically sound-based meditative practices, and kind of starting to learn about the fact that you can use, everyone knows music has,
a
this
frequency,
cosmic healing power.
Yeah.
Naturally. It doesn't matter if you know about specific numbers or dial in a specific frequency. And that's something we can talk about, because it's interesting stuff.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating and powerful, but people get very hung up on like, you said it was this hertz and it's this hertz. And it's like all music is, everything is vibration is essentially what it is.
Yeah.
And we are vibration at our core, at the subatomic level. We are little vibrating strings. Like that's what makes up the atoms, which makes up the molecules, which makes up the tissue and the skin and the organs. Like that's what we are. We're vibration.
Yeah.
And I started to connect those dots between mindfulness and some of these ancient practices of, that are talked about in the Upanishads, the ancient Hindu texts, and Buddhism. And it's also the same as like Christian texts and Jewish texts like Kabbalah. And also it turns out it's the same as like what the shamans are talking about in North and South America, Native Americans. And all these cultures were completely disconnected geographically, but they all had this uncanny understanding of the fact that we're energetic beings having a biological experience. We're spiritual beings having a physical experience. And, I started reading some books that just absolutely blew my mind, one of which was this book, Healing Sounds by Jonathan Goldman. And it turns out he, is an absolute legend who, he went to Woodstock back in the day, and he's from that era of, where there was a mass spiritual awakening.
For sure.
And he, studied in India and in Tibet, and he ended up, becoming a dedicated practitioner of Tibetan Buddhist chanting, basically, which is, using the voice to anchor your awareness of your vibration, and you tap into this higher power. And it's the same in every world religion, it turns out.
Yeah.
And you can get really deep and out there with it, but it turns out that it's really just the act of, breathing and knowing you're breathing, humming, and realizing that you're humming, and anchoring your awareness and blocking out the noise. And when you do that, you're meditating, and that meditative state has been shown to trigger all sorts of healing effects that we think about. And it's really, you start to understand that it's like, you just got to get out of your own way. And when you do that, your body is a self-healing organism in a lot of cases, on an energetic and spiritual and emotional level.
Yeah.
And you can fix a lot of stuff by just getting centered and becoming still and clear, and the answers start to come to you. And you can call it God, you can call it the quantum field, you can call it spirit, you can call it creator, or
however you want to dictate that.
However you want to dictate it. And like that's what, since I connected all those dots and was lucky enough to connect with Jonathan, who became my mentor for the past 2 years. It's like real guru, sensei vibes.
Yeah, no, it's like Master Splinter for real.
It's beyond like, it's truly been like such an honor, and I've learned, been so blessed to, he learned this wisdom that's really like ancient wisdom from ancient peoples that have been passed down this whole time, and I was lucky enough to, receive a lot of that from him. And then at the same time, he's also a brilliant scientist, and like he's written, countless books that show all of the clinical evidence that these ancient practices are actually some of the most advanced healing technologies we have, and the most advanced, manifestation technologies. Like, this is magic. Sound literally is magic. It's practical magic. It's manipulation of electromagnetic energy. Yeah. Which is what we are, Quite literally. And quite literally,
It's just like the whole, when people say that they're not affected by the moon, but it's like, your bodies
are exactly
70% water, so it's like
that's exactly it. And it's like it is good to have a degree of skepticism or pragmatism,
uncertainty, for sure.
Yeah, like that's part of the scientific process, but I think a lot of people kind of get caught up in feeling that everything can be understood by the thinking mind. And the thing about spirit is that it's on a plane that's higher than our physical mind, and our mind is at heart, funny pun, but it's a physical construct, and so we're trying to interface with things that are higher than our five senses, seeing, smelling, sensory information. That's not what's coming is something that's a more amorphous field of energy, and it filters down into our reality. And so instead of trying to like fight our way into understanding, when we anchor our awareness more in our heart and our breath, pranayama is like the study of breath, you stop thinking and you start knowing and you start feeling. And that's what people talk about follow your heart and listen to your gut, trust your gut. That's intuition. And once you anchor and you have practices that allow you to really be aligned in that and to block out all the noise, things become a lot simpler, and you're able to operate from truth. And through truth, you're naturally going to start seeing how beautiful it is to be of service to others. And you're not going to feel this fear all the time for no reason that like your spot's going to get blown up or you're not good enough or you're not cool enough. You're not going to say the right thing. Like none of that is going to affect you. And people are going to naturally want to be around your energy because we're nervous systems interacting with each other. And this is what it is. It's regulating the electromagnetic currents that are flowing through us all the time and not holding on to these, emotions, our energy in motion, and they're supposed to channel through us. And you're not supposed to hold on to anything good or bad. You're supposed to be in the moment and be appreciative and in a place of gratitude. And
absolutely.
When you do that, things just become so beautiful. And so, Healing House became a mission of synthesizing these practices that are really ancient wisdom that unfortunately aren't necessarily that prevalent in our mainstream right now,
and incorporating that into magic
and incorporating into the joy that is house music, because I love house music of all kinds, and I honor and revere like the roots of house music and the fact that it came from people that felt like they needed to build a sacred space and community where they could like be free to be their authentic self and not be worried about judgment, not be worried about fear or fitting in, nonconformity. It's like authenticity and fun and joy. And I think spirituality is something that is here for all of us, and it's like a human technology.
Totally.
But it doesn't have to be this gate-kept, somber, solemn, complicated process. It's very simple. Like you can literally just be in nature by yourself and start humming and feel the fact that you're humming, and you can connect to the energy of nature, Pachamama, Mother Earth, and you establish this channel between you and Mother Earth and the sky, and you realize it's all one thing. And so the barriers go away, and you're able to just appreciate that, and it will heal you naturally. And it's I'm getting chills talking about it. And even those chills, that's spirit, it's truth. Is everyone knows when truth is spoken.
Exactly. It's truth.
Because it's beyond our mind. It's the super mind. It's the super conscious is what we access. It's just like there's an unlimited amount of depth to go into it, and yet at the same time it's all saying the same thing in different ways.
Exactly. And I think what's so like cool to me, and something that like I kind of want to get your opinion on, is you as the person, as the being, is you are so incredibly educated on all this stuff, and you are so you're passionate about it. Like this is what you're about, and this is how you live your life. And I did a little bit of digging in your, discography and the past releases and stuff, and just like specifically, we'll touch first on like the musical journey, because I'm ultra curious. Is your 2022 releases, even I went all the way back to 2016. Like it had this very more commercially feel, and now you've transitioned into this healing house. And I'm curious when the transition came about, because I always have a theory when someone goes from here to an elevation, there's a reason for that. Yeah. You know, like whether that's a creator who makes a new song and finds their sound, or a photographer who finds their style, or a designer who finds their stitch work, like, and is like, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, I always feel that comes to a moment or an experience. For you, what do you think that was to bring you from where you were in making great music, but now connecting the music and still making great music, but almost bringing now a commercialized understanding of what you are trying to do and the power of healing house? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a great question, and I'm like kind of just on the path as well. Like, I'm along for the ride too.
Totally,
in
absolutely.
Sense, you know, and that's the fun part about these spiritual practices is you become an open channel, and you're not necessarily like forcing anything to happen. It kind of just happens because it was always meant to happen, and it always did happen, and it always will happen. Yeah, it is happening.
Yeah, but, no, it is. It is happening at an exponential rate.
It's been happening, and I'm so grateful and humbled. Truly, I mean, it's like been so beautiful connecting with the Healing House community.
I mean,
just,
man.
Like,
it's
so cool, man.
It's unbelievable to see. When I saw you at Penn Station, and you were at like 100,000, and now you're at what, 400,000 followers, like
something like that. Yeah.
I mean, let's talk for a second about growth.
It's hard to even really wrap my head around it. And to be honest,
and it's hard for me to wrap my head around it. But it is, but it isn't, because since day one of this podcast, I've always preached, go check receipts, guys. You can check on any episode. I've always said whoever builds community first wins.
Yeah.
And I think it's not in the essence of trying to build a facade community, but building an actual genuine community where people feel safe, people feel connected, people feel like they want to be part of what you're doing. You will win. And whatever that looks like for whoever that may be. But I think for me, how I've kind of dissected it is that's what makes sense to me, is you have done what everybody is trying to do, is genuinely build a community. And I think now, like, you are reaping the benefits of being the most genuine version of yourself and just putting it out there.
Thank you, man.
And people are resonating with that and wanting to be part. And I think that's why, since the last time I've seen you, which has only been like maybe a month,
it's been a crazy month.
You've 3, 4, 5x'd your community, and I don't want to call it a following because it is, but I also feel like it's a community because the stuff I saw with the Healing House stuff and the events that you did, and it's beautiful. Everyone seems to be there for the same reason.
Yeah,
and I think as an artist, that's all that anyone could ever want. You know what I mean?
It's an absolute dream. I mean, it's a waking dream, and I say that every day. And like, I'm genuinely just like tapped into the gratitude for that.
That's got to be hard.
It's it is, but it's also it's joyful. I mean, it's really incredible because it's funny, specifically with like any artist finding that authentic vibration for themselves and really aligning with it is a beautiful thing, regardless of like their kind of message, of their movement or their community. But like with Healing House, it's kind of just straight to the source in that, it's literally about vibration, and a lot of other things are talking about vibration referencing, but this is the study of the vibration. And so in the practices that I honor and follow, gratitude is pretty much a direct channel to bliss and joy and enlightenment, like higher level frequencies, because you're outside of yourself, you're outside of the small self, and it allows you to see any challenges or adversities or kind of like inconveniences or whatever you want to call it, like friction. You see it as a blessing because you realize that it's a chance to connect deeper to the source within you instead of the outer self, the ego, which like I'm not demonizing. Ego is an interesting term. Like, it's a loaded term because our egos are here to protect us. Since the caveman times, the ego is telling you, don't go out too far away from the cave because you might get eaten. Like, it was to literally protect us, but we still have that brain inside of ourselves. But now it's manifesting in this, because we're blessed to live in a world where most people aren't like in an existential threat state for unfortunately a lot of the world we still need to work on it, but you know, like especially if you're watching this in the West, most people are pretty comfortable. You're probably watching this on an iPhone.
Yeah, I was say you're probably watching this at your laptop.
You're not getting chased by a bear or a T-Rex or whatever. So like
yeah, you're not on Isla Sorna in Jurassic Park.
And so a lot of like our problems, it really comes down to our perception of them as being problems. And
I love that.
And there's way more that you can shift by making your subconscious conscious and becoming aware of your thought patterns and mechanism, and realizing, oh, maybe this thing that I thought was like a huge problem or a death sentence, maybe it's like the most beautiful thing that's ever happened to me. You know what I mean? Maybe it's like God or the universe showing me the way forward to connect to my authentic self.
Yeah.
You know, because
I do.
Like those egoic passions and desires, which everyone has, myself included.
Yeah. We're humans still.
We're all human. I'm absolutely a human. But the thing is, we're also God.
Yeah.
We're both, you know? And like when you strike the balance of those and realize and come from an authentic place of wanting to express that God self through your actions, through your thoughts, through your attitudes, through your communication, the universe mirrors that back to you. And so by becoming a light from within, you light the people around you and you show them that it's safe to be that way. Yeah. And like you can shift things on a global level very quickly. And the world is obviously, you know, in a really challenging spot in so many ways, and has been for, you know, since humanity, because that's our story, is to go through these things. And it can be so hard to, you know, think of it that way when you're going through your own processes, and that's totally valid. And and that's not to be like you know, written off as not a real thing, but it always helps you to occupy your heart in a space of awareness that you're something larger than that. Yeah. And when you do, that's like when people talk about alchemy, you're able to take these negative energies and channel them through your open channels. And you're like, you know, I have this thing I'd say where we're cosmic trees. Like trees breathe in that bad carbon dioxide and breathe out, they process it and breathe out oxygen, like for us. And we are there to do that on the spiritual plane. Like we're here to be healers of the planet and of each other. And so, you know, combining like the joy that music has always brought and understanding that it has so much intuitive inherent power to bring us to like this higher reverent state of appreciation and just like closer to being one, you know, without even trying or trying to convince us. It just does it because the vibration is so high. It's so powerful, man. Like that's literally what it is. And so to me, like having lived my whole life this way, I was like at a certain point, for a while I was keeping the two separate, you know, which is probably what you're talking about with my earlier stuff. Like, like I was still trying to fit into this perception I have of what a cool DJ would do, you know what I mean? Like, or what a successful DJ would sound like or make, even though I still love all my music and it came from an authentic place, but I wasn't all the way there. I still was shedding, and I'm still not, you know, it's an ongoing process and takes upkeep. It's the journey. But, you know, I think that in the last year or two, through these new practices and kind of connecting more dots, I was able to tap into something that's even a layer deeper. And because I know my intentions and I know that I am truly coming from, you know, I've been lucky to do some really cool stuff in the scene and like be that guy to a degree where like it was a little more ego driven. And I realized like it wasn't actually connecting me to source, and it wasn't a lasting contentment. It wasn't a lasting peace or a lasting joy. Yeah. And the real way to do that is to be of service to others and to help people. Absolutely. And to feed that and to amplify light and genuine wisdom. Because when you do, like the impact that you have on people that you might not even know personally is incredible. Yeah. And, you know, every time I took another step to fuse those things together, because that's what I'm really I'm all those things. It's not I'm not a house DJ or a sound healer. I'm a house DJ and a sound healer and a meditator and a practitioner and I'm a partier and a nerd. You know what I mean? Like totally. I like to have fun and I like to be deep and like intentional and be in nature. You know, I love everything, and there's beauty in all of these experiences because they're all human, they're all real. And so to me, Healing House was just the way to like truly integrate and synthesize all those things in this crystallization that felt authentically from my experience and just resonated with me. And I decided to just drop the walls and let it rip on social media and just start spilling my heart out there, you know, and my thoughts.
And look what's happening.
And it resonated, you know. I think people are seeking that right now, because
for sure
it's, you know, it's like the social media world is this new thing still in the grand scheme of everything.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's been kind of like the awkward adolescent years, I think. And I think we're moving into this new age where people are realizing the true scope and power of it, and realizing, like, you know, we don't have to use fear to grab people. We can use love and harness people's attention and energy in a way that not only, you know, makes a real impact, but it's also fun and cool.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
and like that's really my mission with Healing House, is to like make the kind of putting ego in the back seat. I want that to be cool. You know, I think we need that in our society, and there's tons of people that already do it. I'm not saying I'm like making this up, but to me, that's the truth, and like that's what I'm passionate about. And I think, you know, when for a while before, I was running away from the work of connecting with what I really was committed to, and making the music, like it was stuck inside me. And like, I think a lot of people do, I would like doom scroll, you know, to kind of like, and when I'm doom scrolling, I would be seeing so many talented, creative people, and like the art and the content was so sick to me, but it was almost like upsetting me more, because nothing was actually like penetrating my
you were just
ether.
seeing it.
I was seeing it, but I wasn't feeling it.
Yeah.
And I'm not judging anyone else's expression, because we're all unique. We all have our own unique vibration. Different things resonate. But I was like, there's so much talent, but it doesn't feel like there's enough of this intention of pure healing, which is what most people want. You know, like people just want to be seen and understood and feel safe to like be their own authentic self. And also, I think, you know, a lot of people do have these deeply held energetic or spiritual beliefs and practices, and knowingness that's not really being addressed, or there's not a lot of community there for people, you know. And like that's always been a thing for me. I've always just had my own kind of interpretation of what spirit is, but it's always been a big part of my life. And so I was like, maybe other people feel the same way as me, you know. And it's turned out that is the case, and it's been like such a trip this whole time since, you know. It's been beautiful, man.
It's amazing. And I want to bring up something, and this is not to like dilute anything that you've said, but I think to break it down in simpler terms for people who maybe aren't so into the you know,
I can go deep for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But just like kind of on a more surface level for people who maybe not on that spiritual journey yet, is I think what's coolest to me, and I'm talking from a pure artist's perspective, as I am also a fellow artist and a creator and living in this world and social media, I think the coolest part to me and the most powerful thing is, I think by what you're doing and the way that you live and the way that you're choosing to express and the message that you're sending is really honing in on a couple key characteristics of, I think, what a lot of people like myself and artists struggle with, which is the pulling yourself in two different directions, stressing yourself out about things that you can't control, you know, kind of just being in your head, and how you say all the time, getting out of your own way. I mean, and that is something that I can speak on from
a huge thing.
Personal experience, as I know a lot of you who are listening and watching feel a similar way, is that is truly one of the hardest things.
It is, man.
And I battle with it all the time. There's days where I feel so great, I'm like, I'm doing great, and then there's days where I feel like anything I do or anything I touch is just the worst thing ever, and I get so unmotivated, I'm like, my stuff sucks. And then it flips to the other side. And I think you harnessing that awareness about yourself and choosing to share that and getting people to understand that is the way that it is, all you have to do is think it and believe it, is so powerful. Because if I was able to have that ability more, and a lot of other artists or creatives, I think it would solve a lot of issues when it comes to who I am, what do I want to do, the mission that I'm on. I'm making this content or this music or spreading this message because I want to, because this is what I'm supposed to do, not taking in what you think other people are going to think about it, because then it just degrades the quality of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that for me is like one of the coolest aspects, because it is such a hard trait to nail down in being an artist and a creative, especially in today's age.
Yeah.
And I just had to give you flowers on that, because I think that is one of the coolest things, seriously, because being so in control of your mind and understanding your outcomes, or being able to look at the possibility of different outcomes, but being able to decipher the difference of saying, maybe this isn't the bad thing, maybe this isn't the worst experience, maybe this actually is a blessing in disguise, or this was meant to happen, or I was meant to make this so I can get to this, and just embracing the journey and all that I think it's beautiful, because like I said, I'm speaking from personal experience. I struggle with it all the time, and I know I'm not alone in that.
It's the path of the artist. It's the path of the healer too, you know? And I think, you know, Rick Rubin has a saying about basically ignore your audience.
Yep. Like audience comes last.
The audience comes last. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he's also a very mindful guy. And I think it's because like those things are rooted. It's not from a place of self-indulgence. It's from a place of, as an artist, we're here to highlight truth and to amplify truth in a way that inspires other people to open up to their truth and make us all feel connected and hopefully, you know, lighter. It doesn't have to be light material, you know, because like lower frequency stuff, like more challenging stuff is part of the process too. And it's about integrating it. And you integrate it and release that by being with it in a compassionate, non-judgmental way, and realizing that it's not this big, scary monster that you can't handle. You can handle everything because you got you. You are the universe. You know, I have my second Healing House single was called Om Soham, which is a mantra that means I am that, or I am the universe. And that tapping into that, understanding that separation is an illusion, you know, like we're still in that illusion world. And so that doesn't mean you can just ignore the facts of physical reality.
Totally.
But like having that in your core being, kind of, it's almost like, you know, our nervous system, it's like like we are a quantum organic computer. We're like the craziest computer system ever, like way more advanced. We don't even understand how to use 90% of our brain or whatever the number is. I don't know the exact number.
It's crazy though. It's a crazy percentage.
It's a crazy percentage, and that's our subconscious. And it's like all that memory space in the computer is being taken up by this subconscious programming that we don't understand, but we can bring it from the subconscious into the conscious through mindfulness and through practices like breath work and anchoring our intention and awareness to sound. And like the more you do it, it's like a rep in the mental gym, you know, and you're strengthening that muscle of awareness and attention.
It's a great metaphor.
You start to just become aware of your own self-limiting processes of not taking that artistic risks because that secret voice in the back of your head is telling you you're not good enough or it's not going to go good, you know? And it's like, what if you reprogram that voice to say, it's going to go better than I even think it's going to go? Because I don't know, you know, like I actually don't. My brain actually can't predict how good it's going to be.
You can only control what you can control. Like.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so people are using a lot of unnecessary memory or, you know, CPU on these processes that are spinning them around in circles in a negative feedback loop, instead of putting all that energy into the art, into the presence, just being with people, like your family, you know, like people can feel that presence. And that is what an enlightened being is. Like, that's why, you know, unfortunately, not all of them, you know, some people lose the plot along the way, and that power can be intoxicating. But that's why gurus and spiritual leaders, you know, have so much sway and people want to be around them, is because their nervous system is very aligned and centered and grounded, and other nervous systems want to be around that, you know, and we understand things.
You attract the energy that you
like
give.
When most people know what's up with anyone else as soon as they walk in the same room. Like, you don't have to say anything, you know what I mean? You really don't. Like,
you know, if like,
that's why they say talk is cheap, you know,
totally.
Or it's because words are important, but when you align, it's like aligning the energy centers that allows you to transmit a pure signal instead of a distorted or weak signal, you know? And that's the universe responds to that frequency, and it sends it back. Not always right away, you know, because you have to work through that karma. Karma is cause and effect, and that means, it's in my opinion, it's like outside of even the scope of like this lifetime, which we don't have to go super far out there, but it's energy, and basically it's like
energy cannot be created nor destroyed.
No, and so it's, if you have been having a lot of these patterns in your mind for a while, they don't just break away and free. Sometimes it happens spontaneously, but a lot of times you got to do it piece by piece and release that energy in a way from your system that, it's Rome wasn't built in a day. Like you need to build up from the cellular level, like, which is a thing that I discuss in my music, is like healing house music intentionally designed to heal you on a cellular level.
Absolutely.
And that goes not only for the physical world, but like also for the energetic and the spiritual and emotional planes. It's like you got to get down to that granular level and really not just think you understand, but just know, like, in your heart and feel why you're doing the things you're doing. And once you get to that point where your why is aligned with the now and like actually channeling your why into what you're creating or the interactions you're having, that's when like the beauty really starts. That's the alignment, It's like when synchronicities occur and all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, like things are working out. Someone's looking out for me. It's like you're looking out for you. Your higher self is looking out for you.
Yeah, because
you're there. You're showing up and there's no noise in the signal. It's just like pure.
I love that.
So my
goodness. I love how educated you are on this.
Thank you, man.
It's very it's very refreshing. I love one of my biggest things is I love when people love, and I'm not saying like in the sense of like loving in a physical way. I'm just saying I love when people love what they do and they love just what they love. You know what I mean? Man. Like I just think it's so cool. Like that's
what we're here to do.
Yeah,
we're here to be love.
Yeah,
like we are here to embody love, and that's all of the enlightened beings. Buddha, Jesus, all of them. I know some people have their different opinions on the stories there, but but my my perception of it is that all of those enlightened beings attained higher frequency awareness. They were embodying those higher frequencies of not just like romantic love or love based on conditions, but unconditional love. And they were just there for the world. They were there with themselves, and they were speaking, their entire internal language was one of love and positivity and not fear, non-fear, understanding that like things are going to happen as they always were meant to happen and always will. And to just be present for that and to take each new now, which is every new moment is a completely new now, and to continually choose the path of higher vibration as opposed to fear-based lower vibration. And when you start to do that enough, no matter where you're at, you're going to start going up.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to stop you except for you.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Because I'm genuinely curious, and I think this will help a lot of people, and I'm probably just speaking from an internal place of saying that I want help with an answer, but what would you say is your best tactic, method, piece of advice for being present? Because that is something that can't be alone in that.
Yeah.
Remembering to be present, and if I'm in the studio making a song, to remember that I am here now and I'm supposed to be here, or I'm with the moment with people that I love. I'm supposed to be here now and embrace it. And I struggle with that and can't be alone in that. So what is like your advice or like your tactic for being present? Because I think that being present is one of the, in my opinion, I think one of the most beautiful blessings of life is to be able to just be now where you are, because it just takes out all the external factors and allows you to be right where you are. That's hard.
That's why they call us human beings, not human doings. But yeah, no, that's an amazing question, because that really is like, that's the secret sauce right there. That is the thing that will allow you to have those divine downloads or, channel something from higher than yourself, is once you're really, what you're doing is anchoring and rooting and grounding in the now. And the best way to do that is through the body, specifically through the breath. And like for me, one technique that I really love, you know, there's different techniques or things, but you know, and this goes into the practices of Healing House, but it's breath and humming, like literally just which you might notice is very similar to Om. Om is the sound of the universe, you know, in Hinduism and Buddhism. And like the more ancient practice, which isn't even religious, called Sanatana Dharma, which is like basically just the laws of being, the natural order of being. And so for me, like, there's a breath technique that I really enjoy, which is called the 4-5-7 technique. Actually, Navy SEALs use it, like, to, you know, regulate themselves after a battle situation. Yeah. Like, so you know that this really works. This isn't woo-woo stuff. But basically what it is you inhale for a count of 4, which, you know, nasal inhale is usually what you would want to do because it's a more controlled thing, and there's a lot to it. But like a nasal inhale through the nose into the heart and expanding out into the diaphragm, and then you hold for 5, like with a full belly of air. 4, 5, and then exhale for 7. And empty all the way out. And then this is optional, but I like to hold the emptiness for 5. And then another 4. Hold for 5. And then release for 7. And you do that with the anchored awareness and intent of, I'm going to start connecting to my body. And when you have thoughts, you just notice that you're having the thoughts, and by doing that, you realize you are not the thoughts, you know? So you anchor that breath in the now, and you start to feel your body, you know, occupying space. Maybe you feel like the weight of your body connecting to the chair, or even just focus on, like, I wonder what it would feel like to put all my awareness into my right big toe, and just start and like do a body scan. You know, you can like move the awareness up. But so you're just anchoring to the physical body and breath. And when you do that, you're actually changing your brain state and your nervous system state. You go from being in the sympathetic state, which is fight or flight, which people are in most of the time in day-to-day life, which they don't realize, to the parasympathetic, which is the state of healing, dreaming. Like, that's when the good stuff happens in our body. Not only does our mind align, but we start, you know, releasing hormones and chemicals like oxytocin, which is the trust and love hormone. Our cortisol levels go down, which regulates stress, so we get less stressed out. Inflammation goes down, and our brainwave state changes from the beta state, which is like waking, kind of just stressed and like caught up in the moment, you know, the mundane realities of life. You go into alpha or gamma or theta, which are like where people go when they're meditating, which is like has been directly linked to activating the parasympathetic nervous system for healing and creativity and dreaming. Like, dreaming is not that far off from waking creating. You know, it's similar thing. You're accessing creativity because your body starts releasing spirit molecules, you know, like the third eye people talk about. Our pineal gland, that's what regulates and releases melatonin, which is directly responsible for our sleep cycle, for the quality of our sleep, our dreams. It's also an anti-aging hormone. It's a free radical scavenger. It's an antioxidant. So it's like these processes of the body are directly linked to our creativity and our spirituality and just like being a chill person to be around. You know what I mean? And so people are like forgetting to breathe, you know? And so like if you just have a couple of breath, and there's a lot of really cool breath techniques, you know, that I like to use from different traditions, like Native American, you know, shamanism really understands this well. Like breath of fire is this fast one that contracts like the muscles of your solar plexus. But it's basically like engaging and awakening like the specific parts of your body where energy is stored. And so once you like do that and it becomes something that you like know to do, the more, and that's the other thing, is it's like a positive reinforcement loop. So the more you do it, the easier it is to go back into those states because you're familiar habit stacking. With, you know, if you know James Clear, like Atomic Habits, it's like by doing this one thing and anchoring it to another thing, your brain will go into that state of the other thing automatically without even having to do it, because we're like, the other cool thing is, you know, when our brains, when we remember an event, and are ruminating on an event from the past, or like worried about an event from the future, our body triggers those stress chemicals. It's the same exact chemicals as if we were actually in the experience. And so that's trauma, is people are staying stuck on a loop of this experience because they're not addressing the feelings that are triggering all the thoughts. The thoughts are like the brain trying to deal with the feelings of the body. And so once you like work backwards and unpack the feelings and release the energy, there's very specific ways to do that, then you just naturally are light and you're naturally open to like what comes next. And you see the opportunities in front of you and you hear your inner voice talking to you, which allows you to be creative and centered. And that was maybe a little bit of a crazy answer for that.
No, not at all.
But really it's just about, I mean, I love the 4-5-7 technique. Like I would definitely recommend just starting with that. And
I was going to say, I'm going to start doing that.
And also, again, like the power of humming is so powerful. Like if you couple that with on your out breath, you hum, like, so you do, and then on the out breath, hold for 4 and then Om for 5.
Whoa, what the heck?
It's crazy, man. I mean, humming, it causes our blood cell, it releases nitric oxide. They've shown when you hum, it increases nitric oxide production in the cells 15 to 20 times, 20x. And that, it basically causes our blood, it's a vasodilator. So our blood cells are able to like carry more oxygen throughout our body. And it triggers, again, all those healing hormones, that makes us feel good. And that's the thing, like the kingdom of heaven is within is like this Egyptian proverb. Like money, external things, they can give you that short-term hit, but they're not actually, they're always going to have a crash and need something else.
Yeah.
But when you're aligned within yourself, that's what the things you're chasing, you're trying to get those feelings, but you can just give them to yourself, and that's like, I'm so passionate about amplifying those tools for people, because once people, are awakened to that, they realize that they don't need as much
monetary
stuff, and they're not acting out of scarcity. They're not acting out of desperation. And like, that's, I truly believe that's how we heal the world, is by healing ourselves in that way, because then our cup is full and we're able to fill other people's cups and like be of service and help them,
Absolutely.
And it's like, it doesn't have to be this overcomplicated thing. Like, it sounds crazy at first that just humming and breathing could like help you feel really, really tapped in and good. But it's like, that's all we need, because that's what we are, you know, like spirit, the word spirit, like aspirar, is Latin for breath. So it's directly tied. And in Hebrew, ruach is spirit and breath. It means the same word. So these ancient cultures, like they knew more than us in a lot of ways. And we've kind of, what, like Western society kind of made the spirit and that quote unquote supernatural realm. It's not actually supernatural. It's just above our understanding of nature, and it's like,
I feel like society has demonized that.
Yeah, it made it a thing like, oh, okay, you're not a little kid anymore. Grow up. Like those are just fantasies. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah.
And if you look around at most people, even like the successful adults, most of them, their lives are really fucked up. You know what I mean? And they're like, there's a lot of people that have a lot of material wealth or external success or good blessings.
Yeah.
And they're not, it's tragic that they're not even able to enjoy it and to like amplify that to others and be of service. It becomes like a curse in a way, because you're looking outside for something that only exists inside.
Yeah. It has like monetary value, but no like intellectual and personal and spiritual value, like, and which I feel like is the value. And all that, like, some people have like accused me of being preachy at times, which I probably am sometimes, you know what I mean? But what I'll say is like, if this doesn't resonate, I'm passionate, but what I'll say is, if this doesn't resonate with you, just leave it, like that's the thing, is this is not a dogmatic thing that should be imposed on anyone. This is just something that's there as, it's holistic. Yeah. It's okay. If this works for you, great. If it doesn't, and like whatever you do works great, then that works for
you.
I
wish you all the success and peace and contentment, and that's beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, you do you. That's a beautiful thing. Like, truly.
Absolutely. And that's like so funny, because I feel like I want to give you the chance to talk about this, and I feel like exactly what I'm going to ask, or maybe you do, maybe you don't. But it's like, for someone like myself, even though I don't like know you that well, I've only met you a couple times, but like how you said, you can walk into a room and meet someone and just genuinely tell what they're about, their energy. And I've always had just very good vibes about you and what you do and everything that you're doing. But I do understand how people who are not tapped into that or just don't understand it can see it as like this, like, and I hate to use this word because it's such a derogatory word, but it's like
I've heard them all.
People look at it as it could be culty.
Yeah.
And for me, I hate that seems to be a stigma because I genuinely do think what you're doing is so beautiful and it's so powerful, and I think it should not be looked at more than that because, how you said, I'm not here to impose this on you. I'm not knocking at your front door and being like, hey, 457, hum for me right now.
There's
like
no conversion going on here.
Exactly.
Like, this is a purely self-contained practice, and all the leaders that I have learned from, and through books, through knowledge, through in person. It's about learning to love yourself and to connect to yourself. And like, this is the anti-guru club, you know what I mean? This is the anti-cult.
The anti-guru club.
I'm here to amplify knowledge that illuminates the self from within for you.
Yeah.
And take anything that resonates, leave anything that doesn't. Take parts and mash them up and do a remix. Like, do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like,
it's for you to digest it and
do
whatever you want with it. It's not how you're imposed. Yeah, and just because, God, everybody knows this, that freaking Deadmau5 is like a notorious online troll and has done it for so many years. One of the greatest artists of our time.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
influential and amazing. And the fact when I saw that you posted that he had commented in that comment, I was just like, that's such a Deadmau5 thing to say.
Yeah, no, and I woke up and
it was such a Deadmau5 thing to say, but I was like, I just think that's so not right. And I think he's choosing to look at it the complete wrong way, and I just was like, I just wanted to touch on that because I don't see it that way at all.
Thanks,
I
man.
really don't. Like, not a bit.
It's like, like the concept of cult is something to be taken seriously because, it's a beautiful thing that people are, most people are very trusting and open and like want to be connected to that greater source, that source greater than them. And, it can be extremely exciting to like find a movement or a person who is communicating those things, especially in this day and age. It's not that common. It's not that common right now.
It isn't.
But I mean, I know deep within my heart that that's diametrically opposed to everything I'm about. And also, like, I would never, that's too much pressure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I screw up a lot. You know what I mean?
That'd be a lot to manage.
And I'm wrong a lot. And like, I am very much an explorer on this path as well. Like, that's what's fun to me is like learning. And, there's this thing called human design, which is like it's kind of like a mix of astrology and the chakra systems. It's very cool if you're, even if you're skeptical, check it out and run your chart because it's actually really interesting. And you might, again, take what resonates, leave what doesn't.
Yeah.
But my profile is 5-1, which means heretic investigator. Like, that's my life path. And it's just so funny and a trip to see that that's basically what I'm becoming, But, like, people are kind of branding me a heretic in certain circles. I'm getting those type of comments, you know what I mean? And like, I've always been okay with that. But like the other side is the investigator side. And if you go deeper into human design, the first number is your conscious line and the second line is your subconscious line, or more like where you're moving to. Yeah. And so to me, how I interpret that is, I'm here to be someone who sees things in a different way than might be mainstream or conventional. And then to explore that and see like what really works and what really resonates and can help people, and bring that. So I don't want people to think that I'm saying things for the sake of being, counterculture or inflammatory. Like I'm actually an extremely conflict averse person to the point where it's like something I've needed to work on, like I have people pleasing tendencies and it turns out that that's ego too. You're trying to protect yourself in a way that's different from some people by setting too strong boundaries. You're like not giving enough boundaries. But all that to say, like, I'm just here on the journey just as much as anyone else.
Absolutely.
And I have this endless supply of energy to offer to this mission and movement because I see firsthand how powerful it is and how well it's literally
you
saved,
live it.
It's saved my life, like quite literally. And if you read the comments on, my posts or like the YouTube uploads of the song specifically, like some of the stories in there are just like so humbling, and like I'm still processing because it's so new.
Yeah.
And to know that, there's people all over the world who have had positive experiences with this music and message and kind of system of healing modalities that all work together and that you can make your own is just so cool. And it's like, it's just a trip to me, but it's coming from a place of, this is really what I live. I mean, I do it all day, every day.
Yeah.
No,
you're
I was doing my 4-5-7 on the way over here just to like tap in with myself, and
you're the teacher and the professor simultaneously.
Yeah. I mean,
you're the student and the professor.
Yeah.
You're constantly learning and constantly,
I mean, I'm willing to,
on the journey,
I'm willing to communicate and inform people anytime. I'm here to be of service, but I don't even, if other people think of me as a teacher in some lights, I'm flattered and honored.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm just a student. Like beginner's mind is a concept in Buddhism, which is basically, like that's meditation is, you're never really like that good at meditating. It's not something you become good at. Meditating is just sitting with yourself, and you start to notice the river of thoughts that come and realize you're not the thoughts. You're the awareness behind the thoughts, having those thoughts. And inevitably, you're going to get caught up in a loop. You're going to get caught up in a current of thoughts and get off track from the fact that I'm sitting here, I'm breathing. But when you do, that's not a mess up. That's when you're actually meditating, is when you catch yourself and you go, oh, I'm thinking. All right, let's return back to the breath. Beginner's mind. You can never transcend. Like that is enlightenment, is to be a beginner, So I'm honored to teach people that are on their path, but it can only be your path. No one can walk it for you.
Yeah.
And everyone's path is different. We're all unique vibratory beings. So I'm just here to try to amplify the highest vibrations I can, and hopefully other people like want to join that journey.
Well, it seems that a lot of people are wanting to join that journey. A lot. Which is cool, man. Yeah, man. It really is. It's truly incredible. I have a question for you also, just coming from a creative aspect.
Yeah.
What is your process when it comes to making music?
It's a good question.
I feel like you don't get asked that a lot.
No, it's so crazy. Like, yeah, like no.
Like I feel like people forget that you're an artist. Like that you literally make music. So it's like
that's been like the trippiest part about this. But it turns out I like to talk, so it's all good. But no, I mean, I've always like I actually wrote poetry before I even started like writing songs, and I actually started writing poetry because my family, like childhood dog, died when I was like 12, and I had him my whole life, like since I was born, and so it was really hard for me, and it was like I was blessed to not have any big traumas like family losses before that, which unfortunately isn't the case for a lot of people, but it was like hit me really hard, and I had all these feelings and like felt like I needed a way to like get them out, and I naturally kind of just picked up a pen and paper and started writing poems, and I felt better, like I felt the energy releasing, and that was I realized like transmuting that energy into like expressions of the experience was like they were getting them out of my head and onto a page, and I could also like reflect on them and kind of like see things in a different light just through that act, and so I think that's what really always resonated to me, in me about creativity and art, is that alchemization of pain or adversity into like a lighter positive state. I wasn't thinking all this at the time, but and so like that's always informed like the way I write. So I think I'm very much like looking to tell stories through my music, through the power of the human voice, even if it's not like a full on traditional like song structure. And so usually, it's me singing on Om Mani Padme Hum and Om So Hum.
Oh, wow.
And those are mantras that, both of those mantras are very popular Buddhist Hindu mantras that have been around for thousands and thousands of years, and people have interpreted them in different ways.
Yeah.
And so, basically like with Healing House, the process has been like mantras have kind of just found me and resonated with me. And I sort of just like heard a melody that made sense coupled with the way that you're kind of supposed to hum and chant them, but like with a new melody to them that just felt authentic to me, like from my soul. And so that's really where they started. Like I didn't make a beat first. I just kind of like, I just heard in my head, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. And I kind of just recorded that. And then like, you know, I've been producing music for, you know,
a long time,
over half of my life. And so the music production tends to, like, to me, I like to build around the story, around the intention, around the song, the melody. And so that's been, you know, for most of my career, it's been built around that. But having said that, sometimes I work with vocal samples or found sounds. But it's usually a melodic first approach. And then once I feel like that core seed of the song is there, just the rest tends to kind of just, it kind of tends to formulate around it to support the story that's being told. Yeah.
Love that. I was just so curious.
But having said that, it's like there's no rules, you know? Sometimes I like to just go the complete opposite route and embrace chaos and like press a bunch of buttons and see what happens, you know? I do that all the time, like, because I don't really believe in randomness. I believe in divination and synchronicity. So you can embrace that and let randomness occur until something speaks to you and you're like, oh, that's the universe speaking to me. I should pursue that.
Yeah, I should hone in on this now.
Whatever just happened there was something special. I should like see what happens if I keep going down that route and use it, you know? And like just embracing like the fact that you don't know where it's going to end up until the end.
Embracing the innocence of it.
Yeah, man. Like that's because like we have so many incredible music making tools and, you know, things that can help us along the process, but you want to be careful not to go on autopilot, in my opinion, because just because you can make something doesn't mean you should. You know what I mean? Like, because there's a lot of high quality stuff that doesn't necessarily, like, it's got to speak to your soul first. Yeah. So I think it's about, you know, getting really honest with yourself. And like I did a whole album before Healing House that wasn't quite there, wasn't quite aligning my passion for meditation and sound healing and stuff, but it was like good commercially viable dance music that probably would have done well, you know what I mean? But when I showed it to people that I love and trust, like I couldn't even fully get behind it. You know what I mean? Like, and it was because you might have the know-how and skills to produce something that feels good, like to a degree, but is it really feeling good, you know? And I just think we're just in, like, that's just the time in history where we're at, where we don't need like a million well-produced pop songs. We need like people to be there for each other and to like connect and say like, I know that you're going through this same thing that I'm going through and we're in this together and we can like change and make it better, you know? And to me, that's like what the musicians and artists that have always inspired me have been about. And so at a certain point, I think I just exhausted all the other options. I tried all the other ways and I realized it wasn't filling me with enough energy to really put myself out there in the way that is necessary to like resonate in today's society. And so it was just like stripping away the layers of not self that didn't work in my practices to the point where now it's like when I sit down and make something, it's like, it just, you know, I feel it's not always this way. Sometimes you still got to grind through those periods where you're like churning to the next thing. And that's part of the process too. But like, if you keep doing that, you get rewarded with a lot of flow, you know, a lot of flow state, and kind of like it just comes out of you. Yeah. And so, you know, with the Healing House stuff, that's how it's been for me, which, you know, I've been in music for a long time now, so I've had whole periods where that was happening, it felt like, and then
it just goes away.
All of a sudden it goes away, you know, like, and like when it does go away, that's a sign that you probably need to like go out and live your life.
Yeah,
you know,
touch some grass.
Yeah, dude. Literally
go touch some grass.
Go touch some grass, or like go put your feet in the sand, which is what I do. You know, I live at the beach. I do beach walks every day.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
meditate on the beach is my favorite spot to meditate. So
that's amazing.
That's another thing I would say. You know, if you're feeling stuck, like be in nature. Like we're supposed to be in nature.
Go outside.
Literally go outside and like wait for life to give you those experiences that lead to wisdom and lead to being able to access like your higher creative self, and it'll just happen, you know. Like you have to trust that, because if you're forcing it, people will feel it. Like that energy is embedded in the vibrations of the song that you're making, you know. So frequency plus intent equals healing is the formula of my mentor Jonathan, it's like an empirical formula, and it sounds simple, but it actually is very
difficult.
deep. And it's very difficult and very deep. Like, and it can be applied to not only sound. It's like our attitudes, our actions, like those are carriers for our intent, you know, like, so it's really just always about being conscious of what you're doing, like for the, like your why, you know, and also just not that everything has to have an explicit purpose. Sometimes the purpose is because I'm here and I want to just be here and enjoy that beingness, you know, like that's a very valid thing to do. And so it's just, it always works out better in the long run to take your time and to like be present in whatever the experience is. Don't waste that now wanting to be somewhere else, because you're not there and you're not going to be there right now. You'll get there later, and you'll probably get there faster and better if you actually just embrace where you're at now instead of struggling. And that's, you know, the art of surrender is a concept that is like really important. It's like the art of letting go, you know, just let it be, as the Beatles said.
Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Dude.
They were tapped in, man. And, you know, they spent a lot of time in India meditating.
Yeah.
So
no, they were tapped in.
I would say
dude.
It's not a coincidence.
Yeah. Dude. Man. Well, we're an hour and 10 minutes in already.
That's crazy, man.
Dude,
I feel like I'm in a time warp.
Dude, I told you. It goes by so fast. It really does. But I'm going to kind of ask you, like, a couple last questions as we kind of wrap up here. This question I ask every guest.
Okay.
So you are not
I'm honored.
You are included.
I'm ready to be in the lineup.
Yeah, you're in the lineup. It is the 7-on-7's one life advice question, and I feel like you are going to have a beautiful answer for this, but it is the one life advice question, whether a fan, a follower, a friend, a family member, whoever says, Lincoln, I'm really struggling right now. I need something to pull me out. I need something to pull me out of the dark, pull me out of the mud. I really just need a piece of advice right now. Wow. What would that be?
Wow, that's a great question. Let me meditate on it for a second.
Do your thing.
Well, I would say it's two things.
Okay.
That are really the same thing.
Okay.
The first thing is to understand that Rumi said this quote, it's when you take a step, the path appears. So basically you are creating the path through your intention and through that vote of confidence, which comes as showing up for yourself. And the other thing I would say was Buddha and Rumi actually both kind of said it, which is, it is your light that lights the world. And as above, so below. So basically everything is everything. And when you resonate from that place of alignment within yourself, the universe is going to reflect it back to you in exponentials through the development of that alignment of the self. So it's your light that lights the way.
I love that.
Namaste.
I love that. Man, Lincoln, my man, dude. Seriously, I'm so incredibly grateful that we made this happen. I'm so incredibly grateful that you drove down and that you wanted to come on the show. It seriously means,
I'm honored.
It means so much, and I hope you had a blast. I know I had a blast. This was
I did, man, absolutely.
A phenomenal conversation. Well, guys, my goodness, I cannot thank you guys enough for listening, for watching. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, please tongue-tie. Feel free to share it. That is how we grow. But that is going to do it for episode 36 of 7-on-7. Lincoln Jesser, my man, thank you so much. I resonate with you so heavily. I wish you nothing but continued success and growth and everything that you're doing to just keep doing it at the highest level, because it's beautiful to see. It really is, man. So I appreciate your time so much.
Man, thank you for having me, and I feel exactly the same, and we're on this path together, man. So
we're here together.
Let's get it.
Let's get it.
Namaste.
Namaste. Love you guys. We'll see you next week. Woo!